Hi everyone, it's Susan with Furry Feline Monsters of Mass Destruction. Lady Opal Moon is bouncing off the walls. Oh my. Well, it comes with the territory. Now don't get jealous, but I'm having a cup of hot tea in the boss's mug sent to him by Yorkshire Rose, one of our supporters and subscribers. The boss is in bed, don't tell him. Springtime has sprung here in north central Arkansas. I've been outside and I've been pollinated. Not pixelated, pollinated. So I'm having some herbal blueberry tea with honey and lemon. I'd like to welcome you if you're a returning viewer. And I would like to welcome you if you're new. Something Else is a series I'm doing here on Furry Feline Monsters of Mass Destruction, sharing a book, well, stories gathered and compiled into a book called Angel Cats. Divine Messengers of Comfort by Alan and Linda Anderson. Tonight's story, The Persistent Princess, was contributed by Christina Louise Dicker of Bunyip, Victoria, Australia. Most, if not all, of the stories contained within Angel Cats are most likely to bring at least one tear to your eyes, or at the very least make them sting a little bit. Tonight's story, from Chapter 1, beginning on page 22 of Angel Cats, copywritten in 2004 by Alan and Linda Anderson, has a couple of triggering moments. It's a bit different tone than the stories we've shared before, yet beautiful. And if you can make it through to the end, your heart will be satisfied. The Persistent Princess by Christina Louise Dicker, Bunyip, Victoria, Australia. For 3 long years, I struggled to survive in an environment where I did not fit in. Although I loved my job at a large wholesale plant nursery, I felt isolated because I had little in common with the other employees. I have always been an optimist, blessed with abounding energy and enthusiasm for life, and nurturing a deep love of nature. Here comes summer getting into my tea. No kitty. We're having a story. Sorry, guys. Summer Lucille. Christina Dicker continues. I have always been an optimist, blessed with abounding energy and enthusiasm for life and nurturing a deep love of nature. But many of my workmates were tired, downhearted, and bored with the monotony of their work, the constant repetition of potting hundreds of plants day after day. Very few of them had time or compassion for their fellow humans, and less still for their fellow animal creatures. When I first began working at this job, I befriended a small tortoise-shell cat who lived in the shed, I beg your pardon, where I spent most of my working hours. Her coat was dark and shabby, but she had a pretty caramel-colored bib under her chin. She was a dainty thing with warm, olive-colored eyes and a soft feline voice that occasionally let out a little meow. This cat spent most of her time in the loft of the shed to escape the snapping jaws of the company owner's dog, a bull terrier blue heeler cross. The dog had the run of the premises, and nobody seemed to care that she frequently terrorized the tortoise-shell cat. Before the cat was spayed, the family dog had mauled two litters of her kittens. To add to her suffering, the beleaguered cat barely survived an episode of snail bite poisoning. As a kitten, the tortoise-shell cat had been brought into this workplace for one reason: to catch mice. My employers had given her an ugly name and were never thoughtful about her care or feeding. I refused to call her by the ugly name and instead renamed her Princess. A shy, petite creature, Princess was extremely affectionate. It surprised me that she managed to keep her sweet nature, because she was rarely treated with kindness. My greatest pain was in observing the interaction between Princess and a woman named Jan. Jan was one of the oldest workers at the company, and she'd been there a long time. Her bitterness was obvious in each comment or facial expression, and she consistently held grudges against anyone who displeased her. I often watched her as this dear cat attempted to rub up against, or as we in Australia say, smooch against, Jan's legs, only to be kicked away. And many times I held my tongue, and a few times I didn't. On the few occasions when I spoke up against her insensitivity, my protest only angered Jan and put my feline friend in greater danger from her hostility. The issue of Jan's unkindness to Princess remained unresolved, and I stayed perpetually uncomfortable. It frustrated me to watch Princess persevere with this coarse woman. I wondered why she persisted in approaching Jan when the painful outcome was always the same. I couldn't help but be concerned about Princess's emotional state. Was she terribly sad and lonely, or was I merely projecting my own feelings onto her? I eased my anxiety with the thought that perhaps Princess didn't mind being mistreated as much as I thought she did. Yet my empathy for Princess caused me to resent the people around me, and my negative feelings eventually blossomed into full-blown hostility. I was angry that nobody else seemed bothered by the continued abuse of the cat. I tried to offer some compensation by feeding Princess tidbits in an attempt to make her feel loved. I frequently told her how beautiful she was. She began to seek me out each day and seemed delighted to receive some badly needed affection. As it turns out, the extra attention I gave Princess was therapeutic for both of us. The months passed. My attitude at work improved somewhat. I managed to avoid any further confrontations with employees. Then one day, I witnessed something so wonderfully amazing that it filled me with joy and humility. I walked into work and there was Princess sitting up on the workbench, eating a fancy brand of cat food. And to my amazement, Jan had brought the food especially for Princess. Pleasantly surprised, I looked over at Jan. She smiled at me and said, I took pity on her. I was completely taken aback by Jan's gesture of kindness toward my feline friend. How could this be the same woman I've worked with for so long, I wondered. Witnessing this change of heart gave me great comfort and kindled a stronger acknowledgement of the spiritual qualities of animals. I then understood why Princess had never given up on Jan, even after so many harsh rejections. Princess possessed the strength of spirit to break through the shell of a hardened heart. At the same time, this cat gave me a reason and a way to resolve my bitterness toward a fellow human being. What a wise and powerful cat she must have been to make this miracle happen. Several months after Jan had befriended Princess, my boss decided that he no longer wanted the cat. Knowing that I had formed a bond with her, he asked if I would like to take her away. My heart leapt at the opportunity to rescue this creature and give her a kind, loving home. The final outcome was a dream come true. I now have a patient, persistent princess living with me as a special member of my family. Meditation. What do cats teach us about how to break through the shell of a hardened heart? Has a cat inspired you to forgive someone who has wronged you. Thank you for joining me for tonight's story, The Precious Princess, from Angel Cats, Divine Messengers of Comfort, by Alan and Linda Anderson, a collection of stories. Copyright 2004. Please see the link below for more information. I'm going to finish my tea. Oh, that's good. I hope you're all well. And if you're not, I hope you soon will be. This has been Susan with Furry Feline Monsters of Mass Destruction. Thank you again for liking, for subbing, for sharing. The boss and all 22 to 24 rescues here at Furry Feline Monsters of Mass Destruction. And me. We all love you.